Okay, so I've been away for a while. I've been doing some soul searching and just trying to figure out this is something I want to continue to do. And during that, I've just been staying away from it for the most part. And it became less of people comments and stuff like that. Like I've learned how to not let that get to me, but it's more the delusion, right? And now I'm stepping out of my soul searching for this delusional topic that we're going to be talking about today. But let's just go ahead and get into the topic. So the topic for today, as you guys can see in the thumbnail and title, is Redfall and Phil Spencer and Xbox. The reason why this brings me out of my early retirement, I guess you could say, super early. Can't even get 1,000 subs. That's crazy. We almost about to hit 450, by the way. But Redfall and Xbox has been such a disaster in the last week that I genuinely couldn't stop myself from making this commentary. It became a point where I'm looking up so many videos. I'm like in the YouTube search algorithm just trying to find as much videos of people trashing Redfall. Because here's the thing, when you're on Twitter, sometimes the delusion gets to you. Like, for example, Kid Smooth is one of those Xbots. He's one of the Xbox people who everyone's kind of in on the joke when it comes to Kid Smooth. Everyone knows he's delusional, and the people who argue with him is doing it for the sake of everyone else's entertainment. Because we know Smooth is always going to be on the side of Xbox. And when you kind of break the coding, it's kind of like when you're on ChatGPT and you kind of break him to say something that he probably shouldn't be saying in AI. People do that with Kid Smooth, and that's also pretty entertaining. He gets to a point where he's like kind of just low-key praising PlayStation and realizing that Xbox is shit. But that happens in a very, very rare amount of scenarios. He doesn't really do that much. But everyone's kind of in on the joke that Kid Smooth is an Xbot. He's delusional. He's not going to necessarily say the truth unless it's a altered truth to make Xbox look good. And that's just Kid Smooth. And I don't participate in the delusion. I don't argue with delusional people. So I just look at it as entertainment. But on Twitter, sometimes you don't really know if a person off rip is delusional. You try to have good faith and not just think they're stupid. And or they're trolls. You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of Twitter trolls who just say stuff to get a rise out of people and it grows their Twitter. Then there are genuinely delusional people, or on the other half of that, genuinely stupid and uninformed gamers. And it's hard to not try to have a conversation with them to see if maybe you can crack the delusion. Maybe if you can get them to understand they're on a platform that doesn't give a fuck about them and they're defending a company that doesn't give a fuck about them. And it's weird. I'm a gamer at the end of the day. So for me, I just like to play games. On this channel, you guys have seen me be on the side of Game Pass for the longest. But honestly, the promise of Game Pass is just tarnished to me now. It's just the ABK deal that didn't go through. I was a little disappointed, right? Redfall came out and ruined all of that for me. Because at now, I'm like, I don't even want Microsoft to own Activision. Chances are, things are just going to get worse. Especially people like me, which my intention is to stop purchasing Call of Duty and just play it on PC on Game Pass. If we all start doing that, Activision isn't making as much money. I'm not paying for microtransactions. And, they would strictly pretty much be relying on microtransactions. They would essentially be going free to play. And we're expecting for Activision to hold up and be a publishing studio from Microsoft and not have no, management from Microsoft. We're going to have another Redfall situation. Call of Duty is going to start to get shittier and shittier and shittier. I don't want that. They might as well just stay independent. They might as well just be Activision, because if Microsoft owns them, I think things are just going to go worse. They're going to get worse. So I hope Microsoft genuinely struggles to continue to get Activision and it just doesn't work out. Because honestly, as a Call of Duty fan, I don't want Call of Duty to get shittier. In fact, as Call of Duty is right now, I've kind of made it in my own heart to say I'm not buying that game anymore. Because every year I just buy it, play for about less than 2 months, and then I just never touch it again. I haven't touched Modern Warfare 2 since my birthday, which was in January. So I just don't see how Microsoft owning that game would be of any good purpose, owning that franchise. Let's go back to the topic of Redfall. The reason why I'm making this video is because of delusion, like I said earlier. And it genuinely bothers me because it's good and bad is like an opinion. And you can't really like say someone's opinion is invalid. I can agree on that statement, right? But I would like to think that there's also a line where things cross into the objective truth. Like, things just cross into, okay, this is just shitty. This is just bad. Like, for example, you know, Chinese knockoff movies, you know what I'm saying? You've probably seen them before, or just a knockoff movie in general where they try to take the concept of maybe a Disney Pixar film and then they make their own version of it. We can all genuinely say those are terrible movies. Just objectively terrible. They usually have terrible animation. They usually have terrible writing. They just are terrible across the board. Yes, a child could watch it and they probably wouldn't notice that it's a ripoff, but anybody who understands what's going on would just say objectively it's likely shit. Or another example, the Super Mario films from back in the day. That shit was objectively terrible for most people. Most people considered it objectively shit, right? It was so bad that it crossed that line into objectiveness of it just being shitty and having that, you know, aura around it. Like, no one looks at that film and think, oh, that must be a good time, because most people understand that movie is likely garbage. And I think the same thing is with Redfall. And what bothers me is the delusion of Xbox fans who are just like, yeah, this game is just great. Meanwhile, the AI is getting clipped into walls. Yeah, this game, it has some problems, but the core of it is really good. But yet the most cinematics you've seen are in the trailers, and they have no cinematics in the actual game. Okay. But you know, done good, and I don't see this as being too bad. The core gameplay is just fine. But you don't see anything in the landscape, no NPCs, the enemies are far spread apart. The map looks barren when you're running across it. Textures don't load. You're seeing blurry textures. The ground looks like goopy goop instead of dirt and sand and concrete. It just looks like goop. And it's not a PC problem. That's just how the game looks. You know, I could find footage of it on an Xbox of popping filters. That there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's a brand new game. Games release like this all the time. Okay, fine. And then also the delusion goes as far as to say, but everyone reviews Jedi, you know, Survivor like it's a 80, it's a perfect game and it has the same issues. Yes, they do, because the game is actually fucking good. Come on, man. Like, I genuinely, this is why I stepped away from YouTube, is because I try to have good faith arguments, and I try to genuinely just talk about games in a way that a gamer would. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to just, I try to have a conversation with people, and then it's just like, they're either trolling because they have some type of brand loyalty, and now I'm an enemy, so they want to troll because, you know, they have to be on one side or the other. They're not trying to have a genuine conversation. They're either trolling, or they're stupid, or they're delusional. Very rarely do I find a person who's just honest, even if they're on a side, who's just honest about the situation. Very rarely. You either have to pick a side and be on that side to the point of delusion, is that this is like football or something. You can't even acknowledge when genuinely the company's just doing bad. And it has negative effects on the industry, not just for the fact that we can't have genuine conversations, but if you're allowing Xbox to get away with shit because you're saying bad shit is good shit, and you even got people over here buying the dumbass game even though it's on Game Pass and it sucks, I wonder what message you're sending to Xbox. That people who are loyal to our brand will not only stick with us through the shit, but they will actively enjoy the shit. They will take the shit, put it in their mouths, and then thank us for it. I swear, this is just, it's ridiculous, man. Then Phil Spencer comes out with the interview, right? And he essentially waves the white flag. Like, I know a lot of people are taking things way too far. I understand. But I'm telling you, this is me as just trying to be as genuine as possible. I'm not trying to spread a narrative. This is just what I genuinely took from it. He says that they're not even fighting to compete with IPs to get back in the race with Nintendo and Sony. And that genuinely broke my heart, because it's like, you know what made me get a PlayStation? I could not play The Last of Us. Right? And it's like, that's when I got my PS4. Because it was like, I mean, all my friends are over here. My friends were over here like saying, get an Xbox One. Everybody else had an Xbox One. I was late by like 2 or 3 years, and my parents was not going to fork up $400 for a console. I had to go out and work for it. And I was like, damn, since I have to go out and work for this, let me make sure I'm getting the console I actually want and fuck with my friends. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll make new friends. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're not smart enough to switch over with me, then I mean, that's their fault, right? I switched over to PlayStation with my own money. And I've been happy with that purchase ever since, because at that time, I will say, Xbox had more exclusives. They just didn't have the exclusives I wanted. They had Sunset Overdrive. They had Quantum Break. They had Titanfall. They had better and more exclusives at launch, I would say. But the PS3 had The Last of Us. And then the PS4 had a remaster of The Last of Us. And most consoles came with that remaster of The Last of Us. So I was like, I'm going to have to just go with a PlayStation, because the game was just that notorious and that good, and it reviewed that well, and it was that great. And Phil Spencer just said that it won't sell consoles if they just made good games. If they actually competed with the IP of Sony, no one would want to buy an Xbox. Now, I can see where that might be true, because, I mean, you have a PC, but here's my retort to that. Most people don't have a 3090 PC. That is for the elites, people who have that kind of money or that kind of care. I know some people are just idiots too, because I know some people living with their moms bragging about having a 4090. I don't get it. But there are those people too. But, you know, I'm a responsible adult to some extent, and I'm not going to cop a 4090 at no goddamn $1,500 just for the graphics card. Nah, that's not me. But you know what I would do? If the game can't run on my PC, which if you were to make a AAA game of the likes of Sony, something worth buying, I would buy an Xbox. And I would be happy with my purchase, because there's no other place I can play this game. You get what I'm saying? Like, if there was a Gears of War beauty type of game, but it was actually AAA, it was cinematic, it was worth my time. It was a game praised by all of the, you know, different, not Starfield, not Starfield, but it's just, I just don't like Bethesda games. I don't like Fallout, which is why I'm kind of like, I don't get why people are leaning on Starfield. Fallout has always released pretty much like Redfall, just buggy. Probably the game and its content is good, but I don't like the content of Fallout. So it's like, that doesn't appeal me. But they've always released buggy and broken. They've always released with frame rate issues. It's like, that's what we leaning on? Starfield? The Todd Howard promise? I'm sorry. Y'all are delusional, bro. Y'all are dead ass delusional. This video should be named Delusion, because everything I've stated is the arguments of delusional people. It's ridiculous. I'm surprised you don't see it. It's almost like you're trolling at this point. It's like you're teetering the line of trolling, because the delusion is so delusional. It's hard to believe someone stands with these points. It's really hard to believe. This is not about console wars, but it's just about, when are we as gamers not console, you know, separated? Like, a fuck PlayStation, fuck a Xbox, right? We have two big competitors that we want good games from. Why can't we all come together to say, hey, this is just collectively shit. This collectively, we can all say this is garbage. Do better, Xbox, please. You have all of these development studios. The potential of your company is so great. Stop squandering your opportunities, please. We can't all come collectively to say that. No, there has to be some delusional group of people that are Xbox, you know, fanboys, Xbox era, giving the game an 8 out of 10. It has to be those people that just make everyone else seem like we're the ones delusional. Well, what are you guys talking about? The game is great. It has to be those people there. It has to be people arguing in the comments about how good the trash game is. For God's sakes, you go to a goddamn table on the upper floor of a fucking fire. Fuck, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. You go to the table and then you click on a mission of strings of missions. What are we on? I know it's a co-op game, and I've never been a fan of those, but god damn, I expected better than that. Dead Island 2 is a co-op game. Nah, stop the bullshit. Dead Island 2 released better than Redfall, and people still defending it. The game just released a week ago. What's wrong with y'all brain? Are y'all forgetful? Dead Island 2 was fucking beautiful. It performed really well. It had great mission structure. A little dated, but it worked. Nice writing. Cutscenes. Good gameplay. That's what it had. And then Redfall releases and everybody's just like, nah, this is dope. This is dope. I'm sure if I went up to one of these delusional people and said Dead Island 2 is better, it would say, no, Redfall is better. Whatever. This is stretching really long. But that's just like what I've been thinking about. And I'm going to put this video out because I genuinely had to get this out because I can't find anyone else talking like this. I was trying to find someone to talk like this, but there's no one else talking like this. Everyone's, they're either trying to ride the fence because they don't want to piss off Xbox fans, or, they're just not going in depth. But Phil Spencer waved the white flag. The nigga said we just can't compete. We're not attempting to make good games to compete with Sony. We're just gonna have the developers make creative things and pave our own lane. They can make creative shit. They can make creative goodness. We're just gonna bundle it all up into Game Pass and just hope niggas like it and create our own path instead of making just good games that you can't get anywhere else. Fuck make good games you can get anywhere else. Their goal is to make games for anyone to play anywhere. That's Phil Spencer's goal, right? Well, Phil Spencer, got your moment here. You have to make games anyone want to play anywhere. That doesn't include shit creative. You know what happened when Scorn came out? Because people like to talk about the reviews and stuff like that, but when you make games that nobody want to play, it still has the same concept behind it. Scorn came out, we found out it was a puzzle game instead of like a FPS shooter, and I unsubscribed from Game Pass. Hi-Fi Rush came out, yeah, it was a good quality game, but I unsubscribed from Game Pass. Redfall has come out, and if I didn't have 3 free months, I would unsubscribe from Game Pass. I'm not interested in Starfield. I'm unsubscribing from Game Pass. 2 things can be true, Phil Spencer. You have to make good games. You can't just wave the white flag. You can't just be like, okay, we're just going to give up because we can't compete with Sony. No, compete. I used to think people were just making bad arguments when they would say that Microsoft doesn't want to compete. They just want to buy things. But that's exactly what you want to do. You do not want to compete. I don't think it's an argument to say that you shouldn't get Activision because, you think, some people say you shouldn't get Activision because you don't want to compete. You just want to buy up everything so that they can't compete. I don't think that's the case. But I do think you just want to buy up everything instead of actually competing. It's, what's sad? On Twitter, you can check this on my Twitter, or I'll put it up on the screen or something like that. I said I was playing Redfall, and it's not anything close to a PlayStation game. Not close. In fact, it's not anything close to a Call of Duty game. It's not even close. The popping of the textures, the game, it's just, and we're talking about a Call of Duty campaign here. It's not that close. Huh. Is it even close to a Ubisoft Far Cry game? Nope, not close. This game is the shit tier of shit tier. And this is what Xbox is okay with releasing because they want to give creativity to the devs. Scorn. Nobody wants to play that. Nobody, man. And if you want to release AA tier games, Game Pass games, quote unquote, what we're calling it now, and that's fine. At least make them good and at least make these AA tier games that people want to play. I think that would be dope. If you can get Saints Row on Game Pass because people want to play it, they just don't want to buy it. That would be dope. But to be releasing this shit content, something I would consider worse than AA tier, it helps no one. It doesn't help Xbox. It doesn't help your fans. And it's genuinely depressing because I just want to play a good Xbox game. You know what's crazy? I love Quantum Break. I didn't have an Xbox One for it, but when I eventually got my PC, the first game I downloaded was Quantum Break. you know what? I really want to play Halo 5. I haven't played the rest of the Halos. I'm not a Halo fan. But I loved Halo Infinite. And I love the changes that y'all made to Halo 5 because I'm a Call of Duty fan. I really want to play it. You know where it's not at? It's not on PC. It's not on PC Game Pass. I love Sunset Overdrive. I've never beaten the game, but I genuinely just love the character of it. It's one of Insomniac's best games, in my opinion. I love that game. You never made a sequel to any of those great games. Rise, Son of Rome, great game. Those games were you competing with Sony, and they were really good. And you know what? The only reason why you lost when it came to those games, it's genuinely because of polish. The same problem you have now. You just didn't polish them to any extent. Quantum Break released and you had mags that wasn't properly reloading. You had... all you had to do was just polish these games. Sunset Overdrive was really polished. It was a really good game. It just wasn't enough to carry a generation. Especially since y'all just gave up on all of these IPs. Y'all just genuinely gave up on them. You let EA buy Titanfall. Well, EA was already the publisher of Titanfall. Sorry for my mistaken. But the first thing I would have did was buy Respawn. The fuck? Like, how did the exclusive of Titanfall? Yes, it performed terribly because your Xbox was performing terribly because y'all had very bad PR. Very terrible PR. That's the reason Titanfall and Sunset Overdrive failed. But imagine building off of those IPs. It would have been great. I still believe if Rise Son of Rome came out today, it would look better than anything that you've released in the last 2 years. Not only look better, it would play better. It would get better reception than any of the games in the past 2 years. If you was like, all right, we have this new game. We're calling it Rise Son of Rome and we're releasing it on Game Pass day one. Niggas would love it. The graphics of that game was amazing. The gameplay wasn't that bad. Need a little bit of polish, but hey, it was a good game. But hey, I've been talking for 25 minutes here. I'm tired of the delusion, and I'm tired of the delusion holding back Xbox. I'm not an Xbox fanboy. One thing I do want that it seems like a lot of the Xbox fanboys don't want is for Xbox to be better. I want them to grow. I want to enjoy their games. And I feel as if the fanboys are holding them back and Phil Spencer is holding them back because he's missing the main frame of everything, and that's just making good games. Can't build a cloud stream off of terrible games, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to Activision. Oh, they're going to have Game Pass because they're going to want to play Call of Duty. And they're going to play Call of Duty on our cloud streaming service. And they're going to play Call of Duty on our game. They're going to give us that $10 a month because we have Call of Duty. Yeah, it might work. But is that you just want to get by on doing that? Make good fucking games, man. I want a Quantum Break 2. I want a Rise Son of Rome. I want more games from Xbox. I want to see what Bethesda can really do with a major player in the platform space behind them with more money than Sony. I want to see what that looks like. I want to see what the developers of Rage 2 can do with Microsoft money. I want to see what they can make. I want to see what a Doom, what we expected from Xbox, they're just not doing. I want to see what the developers of Doom would do with the Halo franchise. There are certain things I just want to see. And because they want to have this hands-off approach and just be like, hey guys, just be creative and make some stuff that we can put on Game Pass. Just make it. Bro, I'm so tired of this shit. No, get them to make the games that people want to buy so that you can make the monies. Please, for the love of God, please, rant over. Thank you for watching this video. I don't know when I'm making another one, but I just had to talk. Hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, man, this was long as fuck. I'll see y'all in the next one, maybe. Peace.